If a book could be clickbait, this is that book. And it worked on me. Hello everyone, my name is Mac and welcome back to my booktube channel. Today I'm gonna be doing a book haul, and you may be thinking to yourself, wait, I thought you didn't buy books. And you'd be correct, I don't. I went to the library. That's right, today I'm gonna be doing a library book haul. I've been to the library twice in the last 2 weeks, so I have 8 books, and let's just get into it. So the first book that I have is gonna be exciting to a few of you if you watched my last video, and that is Oathbringer by Sanderson. I've had this book on hold for a while at the library, and it finally was available to me, so I immediately picked it up. I've already started reading it, but I'm only 12% of the way through according to Libby. I'm also listening to the audiobook while I read it, and I'm just gonna save all my thoughts and opinions on this book for a future video. I do plan to do a reading vlog for this book and the rest of the Stormlight Archive, and maybe Mistborn. If you want a Mistborn reading blog, give this video a like and leave a comment down below. So if you don't know, Oathbringer is the 3rd book in the Stormlight Archive by Sanderson. I've read the first 2 books of the Stormlight Archive in February and April respectively, and it's very good. Like, it lives up to the hype. There's a reason that, like, Sanderson is known as one of, like, the greatest fantasy authors of the modern day, because he's quite good at what he does. Like, I have a few problems with some of the world building aspects and just some of the politics of this book, and I will leave all of those thoughts for a future video. But yeah, I mean, he's very good at his job, okay? He's very good at what he does. I'm going to read the inside flap, and so if you haven't read the first 2 books of the Stormlight Archive, or if you haven't read the Stormlight Archive and you're thinking about it, I'm going to put a time code up on the screen, so skip to that time code so you don't get any spoilers for the first half of the series. Dalinar Kholon's Alethi armies won a fleeting victory at a terrible cost. The enemy Parshendi summoned the violent Everstorm, which now sweeps the world with destruction, and in its passing awakens the once peaceful and subservient Parshmen to the horror of their millennia-long enslavement by humans. While on a desperate flight to warn his family of the threat, Kaladin Stormblessed must come to grips with the fact that the newly kindled anger of the Parshmen may be wholly justified. Nestled in the mountains high above the storms, in the tower city of Urithiru, Shallan Devar investigates the wonders of the ancient stronghold of the Knights Radiant and unearths dark secrets lurking in its depths. And Dalinar realizes that his holy mission to unite his homeland of Alethkar is too narrow in scope. Unless all the nations of Roshar can put aside Dalinar's blood-soaked past and stand together, and unless Dalinar himself can confront that past, even the restoration of the Knights Radiant will not prevent the end of civilization. So I can just feel the emotional distress this book will put me in from a mile away. I've only read 13 chapters of this book, and I'm already, like, having, like, sweats and fear and just... It's gonna be good, but it's gonna hurt. But it's gonna be good, but it's gonna hurt. So the next book that I have is a little... I don't think I should have picked it up as soon as I did, but I got excited when I walked into the library. There is, on the immediate right, a shelf of new books, and I walked in and I looked over there, and this book made eye contact with me, and I immediately walked over and picked it up, and that is Dawnshard by Sanderson. Now, if you are a veteran of the Cosmere, you know that this should be read in between Oathbringer and the 4th book, Rhythm of War, and I've barely made a dent into Oathbringer. I'm not even 25% of the way through, and I've already picked up Dawnshard. So I'm getting a little excited. I'm jumping off a little early, okay? And that's fine. It's fine. When a ghost ship is discovered, its crew presumed dead, trying to reach the storm-shrouded island Akina, Navani Kholon must make sure the island hasn't fallen into enemy hands. Knights Radiant who fly too near find their stormlight suddenly drained, so the expedition must be by sea. Ship owner Rysson Fattori lost the use of her legs, but gained the companionship of Chiri Chiri, a stormlight-ingesting winged larkin. Now Risson's pet is ill, and any hope for her recovery can be found only at the ancestral home of the Larkin, Akina. With the help of Lopin, the formerly one-armed windrunner, Risen must sail into the perilous storm from which no one has returned alive. If they cannot uncover the secrets of the hidden island city before the wrath of its ancient guardians falls upon them, the fate of Roshar and the entire Cosmere hangs in the balance. So I'm really excited to read this book, A, because Navani Colin was mentioned on the back cover, and I am fully in love with her. And secondly, because Risen, I think, is going to be a main character, and Risen didn't get a lot of screen time in Words of Radiance, but what little time she had in the book, I fell in love with her immediately, and I'm really excited to see where her story goes, what is expanded on it. And I think that this is similar to Edge Dancer, which followed Lift, and like I like how these really short books are exploring other characters in Roshar besides, like, you know, Kaladin and Shallan and Dalinar and Adolin. So I think it's really cool, and I'm really excited to see what happens with this one. So the next book I have is a very popular book. I haven't read it yet. I said I was gonna read it when it came out, and then I just didn't. And that is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I have a lot of friends. I have one friend specifically who really likes this book and has been waiting on me to read it. So I'm using this as a way to keep myself accountable and say that I am gonna read it. I promise. I got it. I'm gonna read it. I've ignored a lot of things about this book because I knew I would eventually read it, and so I don't know much about it. I think when it was coming out, it was being sold as The Song of Achilles meets Mulan, which sounds incredible because Mulan is one of my favorite Disney movies ever, and The Song of Achilles is one of my favorite books ever, so I'm sure that this book is gonna leave me in just a great emotional state, and I'm gonna be fine, and everything's gonna be fine. Also, the back cover has a lot of authors that I really respect. You got Rebecca Rowanhorse is back here, Zen Cho, Tasha Suri, wow. Yeah, I'm super excited to read this. To possess the mandate of heaven, the monk Zhu will do anything. I refuse to be nothing. In a famine-stricken village on a dusty yellow plain, two children are given two fates. A boy, greatness. A girl, nothingness. In 1345, China lies under harsh Mongol rule. For the starving peasants of the Central Plains, greatness is something found only in stories. When the Zhu family's eighth-born son, Zhu Changba, is given a fate of greatness, everyone is mystified as to how it will come to pass. The fate of nothingness received by the family's clever and capable second daughter, on the other hand, is only as expected. When a bandit attack orphans the two children, though, it is Zhu Changba who succumbs to despair and dies. Desperate to escape her own fated death, the girl uses her brother's identity to enter a monastery as a young male novice. There, propelled by her burning desire to survive, Zhu learns that she's capable of doing whatever it takes to stay hidden from her fate and claim her brother's destiny as her own. There sounds like there's gonna be a lot of gender in this book, and I am 100% here for it. So the next book is something that I haven't heard a lot of people talking about, although I bet that it's very popular based on the author. But the only reason, not the only reason, but a really big reason that I picked this book up was because the third book has come out recently, or comes out really soon, and I think the cover is stunning. And so I picked up the first book so I would have a chance to read the third book, which I think is really pretty, and that is Foundryside by Robert Jackson Barrett. I don't know barely anything about this book. All I know about this book is that the main character is a thief, and that's it. The main character is a thief, and the covers of these books are really pretty, and that is all I know. But also, the back cover of this book also has some really cool people on it. Felicia Day is on the back cover of this book. I can't read what her blurb says because there's a sticker covering it. There's also Brian McClellan, who is the author of the Powder Mage trilogy, which I haven't read, but I really want to. He says it's fast-paced, intelligent, and fun with a fantastically cool magic system. I can't wait to read the next one. So the co-creator of Pathfinder is also back here. He says Foundryside pulls you in with fast-paced heists, then knocks you down with its innovative magic system. Fun, thoughtful, and thrilling from cover to cover. So a lot of the people on the back seem to be applauding this magic system. So I'm kind of excited to see what that's about. I had no idea that I thought this was a sci-fi book. This is fantasy? Brandon Sanderson is also on the front cover, and he says, the exciting beginning of a promising new epic fantasy series. Prepare for ancient mysteries, innovative magic, and heart-pounding heists. So It's a heist fantasy. I had no idea. Okay, now I'm really excited to read this. Sansia Grotto is a thief, and a damn good one. And her latest target, a heavily guarded warehouse on Tavan's docks, is nothing her unique abilities can't handle. But unbeknownst to her, Sansia has been sent to steal an artifact of unimaginable power, an object that could revolutionize the magic technology known as scriving. The merchant houses who control this magic, the art of using coded commands to imbue everyday object with sentience, have already used it to transform Tavan into a vast, remorseless capitalist machine. But if they can unlock the artifact's secrets, they will rewrite the world itself to suit their aims. Now someone in those houses wants Sansia dead, and the artifact for themselves. And in the city of Tavan, nobody has the power to stop them. But there are those who may have the courage to fight alongside Sansia, like the hackers who practice scriving in secret, half a step ahead of the house's thugs, or the technological wizard who's bartered his soul for political power, and beneath his cynicism may be desperate for a chance to redeem it, or the constable whose eagerness to bring Sansia to justice is matched only by his need to hold the powerful accountable for their sins. To have a chance at surviving and at stopping the deadly transformation that's underway, Sansia will have to marshal these unlikely allies, learn to harness the artifact's power for herself, and undergo her own transformation, one that will turn her into something she could have never imagined. Oh my god! How did I not know anything about this book? That sounds incredible! That sounds so fun! It's okay. Wow. Okay, I'm excited to see how this goes. It sounds like this might be a little... maybe even a little steampunky? Wow. Okay. There also sounds like there may be a found family in here, which I am always here for. I'd love a found family. Oh, and maybe perhaps a critique of capital. Okay, this book sounds like it has everything I could want in a book, and I'm kind of excited that I picked it up just based off the fact that the cover was pretty. So maybe this is proof that sometimes you can judge a book by its cover. This next book is gonna break up this pattern of fantasy books, because I have one nonfiction book, and listen, the title is a bit much, but it sounded interesting, okay? And that is A Generation of Sociopaths, How the Baby Boomers Betrayed America by Bruce Cannon Gibney. Now listen, if a book could be clickbait, this is that book, and it worked on me. I picked up the book because the title was very sensationalized, and I wanted to see what was going on in this book. If there are any boomers out there, I'm sorry. It sounded interesting. It might not be that bad though, because the back cover that has the details about the author says that the author is a venture capitalist, so maybe it won't be that bad. Maybe the scathing review of an entire generation won't be that scathing. In A Generation of Sociopaths, Bruce Cannon Gibney argues that the baby boomers, the most powerful generation in modern history, have hijacked America, ruthlessly enriching themselves at the expense of future generations. Boomer leaders and their policies turned American dynamism into stagnation, inequality, and bipartisan fiasco, culminating in the 2016 presidential election and its sordid aftermath. Combining deep research and witty, colorful prose, Gibney's book is, quote, an informative, provocative, and entertaining, end quote, defense of the once unquestioned value of society. That sounds like it's gonna be a good time, and nobody's feelings are gonna get hurt, and it's gonna be completely fine. But in all seriousness, I think it does sound pretty interesting, like from a historical point of view, to like track how generations have impacted America. So I'll keep you guys posted on this one. It might not be as bad as it sounds. So these next two books are both written by the same author, and the reason that I picked these up is because this author has another book coming out sometime this year, or it may be published by now already, and a lot of reviews said to read these two books before you read that one, and those two books are A Brightness Long Ago and Children of Earth and Sky by Gavriel. Now, I don't know anything about this man. I've never read any of his books, and I don't know anything about these two books. But I do think it's a little funny that I have 3 of his books checked out at once, because I also have Tigana checked out on Libby, and I don't know anything about them except for he writes fantasy books that are inspired by Renaissance Italy, which is super nice change of pace. I think that's really different. I've never read anything like that, because let's be real, the large majority of fantasy books are inspired by medieval England, if not medieval Europe as a whole. So I think writing some books in a different world that's like inspired by a different like time period and a different location is quite interesting. But yeah, I really don't know anything about these books. I really like the cover of A Brightness Long Ago. I really don't know anything about them. But I mean, it sounds like based off of the reviews on the front cover and the back cover that it's really, really good. Booklist says Kay shows why he's the heir to Tolkien's tradition, which is, those are some big shoes to fill. So I'm quite interested to see what this one is about. In a chamber overlooking the nighttime waterways of a maritime city, a man looks back on his youth and the people who shaped his life. Daniel Chera's intelligence won him entry to a renowned school even though he was only the son of a tailor. He took service at the court of a ruling count and soon learned why the man was known as the Beast. Daniel's fate changed the moment he recognized Adria Ripley as she entered the count's chambers one autumn night, intending to kill. Born to power, Adria had chosen, instead of a life of comfort, one of danger and freedom, which is how she encounters Daniel at a perilous time and place. Vivid figures share the unfolding story. Among them, a healer determined to defy her expected lot, a charming, frivolous son of immense wealth, a powerful religious leader more decadent than devout, and, affecting all these lives and many more, two larger-than-life mercenary commanders and lifelong adversaries whose rival puts the world in the balance. A Brightness Long Ago offers both compelling drama and deeply moving reflections on the nature of memory, the choices we make in life, and the role played by the turning of fortune's wheel. This book is gonna ruin me! Oh, I absolutely know this book is gonna ruin me. It sounds very introspective, and I love that. Like, it may be like a sort of like a character analysis type book, where you're just given a bunch of characters and you're like inside their head and this is gonna ruin me. Oh, I'm very excited for this. And Children of Earth and Sky also sounds really fun. This one sounds like it might be heavier on the history than A Brightness Long Ago. Yeah, on the front cover, the Washington Post says, history and fantasy rarely come together as gracefully or readably as they do in the novels of Gavriel. Okay, well, let me read the inside cover of this one. From the small coastal town of Sinjan, notorious for its pirates, a young woman sets out to find vengeance for her lost family. That same spring, from the wealthy city-state of Saressa, famous for its canals and lagoons, come two very different people. A young artist traveling to the dangerous east to paint the Grand Caliph at his request, and possibly to do more, and a fiercely intelligent, angry woman posing as a doctor's wife but sent by Saressa as a spy. The trading ship that carries them is commanded by the accomplished younger son of a merchant family, ambivalent about the life he's been born to live. And farther east, a boy trains to become a soldier in the elite infantry of the Caliph, to win glory in the war everyone knows is coming. As these lives entwine, their fates, and those of many others, will hang in the balance when the Caliph sends out his massive army to take the great fortress that is the gateway to the Western world. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see the influences of history in this one, especially if it's set in a similar setting that's based on Renaissance Italy. I can definitely see the influences of history in this. But wow, once again, this sounds like it's going to be a very character-heavy book, and I love character-heavy books. I love it when the characters are the important thing rather than the plot. Wow. Okay, wow. This sounds like this is just going to ruin me. I'm going to be ruined. And the last book that I have in this haul is a notorious book in fantasy circles. It is notorious for being complex, confusing, and hard to read, and that is Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson, which is the first book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. Now, I've heard a lot of things about this series and about this book specifically. The main things that I've heard about it is that it's hard to read, it's complex, it doesn't pull any punches in terms of world building, and my immediate thought is it can't be as bad as the Silmarillion. I didn't recently read the Silmarillion, but I did finish it this year. It took me a year to read the Silmarillion, and I don't believe that any book can be as dense and as difficult to read as the Silmarillion. So I'm willing to take my chances on this one. The reason that I ended up picking this one up in the first place is because of a Daniel Greene skit that I saw last week, and I'll link it up in the card, but it's called something like If Malazan Book of the Fallen was as hard to read as people say it is, or something like that, and that was hilarious. And so that skit made me immediately pick this one up. I know very little about this book. All I know is that there is a character called Whiskey Jack, and that was enough for me to want to read it, because, I mean, what else do you need in a book besides a character called Whiskey Jack? Like, that's incredible. The Malazan Empire simmers with discontent, bled dry by interminable warfare, bitter infighting, and bloody confrontations. Even the Imperial legions, long injured to the bloodshed, yearn for some respite. Yet Empress Lessine's rule remains absolute, enforced by her dread claw assassins. For Sergeant Whiskey Jack and his squad of bridge burners, and for Tattersail, surviving cadre mage of the 2nd Legion, the aftermath of the Siege of Pale should have been a time to mourn the many dead. But Darujistan, the last of the free cities of Genebacchus, yet holds out. It is to this ancient citadel that Lessine turns her predatory gaze. But it would appear that the Empire is not alone in this great game. Sinister shadow-bound forces are gathering as the gods themselves prepare to play their hand. So this sounds like it is going to be capital E, capital F, epic fantasy. And I have not read an epic fantasy book in a long time. I think the last epic fantasy book I read might have been the Lord of the Rings books. I don't know if the Stormlight Archive counts as epic fantasy, but this sounds like it's just going to be very big. It's going to be very heavy on maybe politics and world building and stuff like that, and so I'm into it. I'm into it. Oh my god, okay. Well, the book has some maps and a list of characters at the front, so like I already know I'm going to have a good time. And like there's a glossary at the back. Girl, this is finna be very good. I know it. This is gonna be good. So that was my library book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you have read any of the books in this haul, or if you are planning to read any of the books in this haul, leave a comment down below and let me know some of your thoughts. I am really excited to read a lot of these books. Plenty of these books I just picked up because I thought the cover was cool, or I watched a single video about it and that was enough for me to pick it up. So I'm quite excited to see, or to go into all of these books with such little information and with like no expectations basically. So I'm really excited to see what that's about. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like and send it to a friend. And if you hated this video, send it to an enemy. Follow me on Instagram for more unhinged bookish content that you will not see here. And follow me on Goodreads for real-time updates on what I am reading. I will leave all of my links down in the description below. And goodbye!